Please all rise for the Right Honourable, the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Perth June 2026 Ordinary Council meeting. I declare this meeting officially open at 5:08 p.m. and I apologise for the delay. We were just sorting out a technical glitch. It looks like we might be on board now. So I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we gather, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. It is a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar country. CEO, can you please recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Please note, there we go. Please note, in accordance with Local Government Act 1995, this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. I remind the gallery that we expect a level of behaviour that respects the chamber and those who are in it, and not to interfere or interrupt with the proceeding of the meeting. Disruptions may cause adjournment or removal of attendees causing disruption. In attendance this evening we have Councillor Doshi, Councillor Gobbett, Deputy Lord Mayor Gonsalves, Councillor Leeser, Councillor Patton and Councillor Paikin. We have an apology by Councillor Coe and by Councillor Ma. The following leave of absence...
Excuse me, Lord Mayor.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Thank you, Councillor Ma.
Yep.
Okay, we have Councillor Ma in attendance. Just for Councillor Ma and Councillor Paikin, can you please just announce that you're in a position where you can you're in a private position with no one in observance, and you're able to participate accordingly and maintain confidentiality. Okay.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, can you please repeat that?
Okay, just wanted to make sure that you're in a position where you can maintain confidentiality.
I don't think I'm in a position
Okay.
to do so.
In that case, thanks very much for dialing in, Councillor Ma. I'm just going to ask you to give this one a miss, if that's okay.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Lord
Yep,
Mayor?
that's fine. We're going to get you to give this one a miss, just because we need to make sure that you're in a position. Okay, but really appreciate the attempt to dial in.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go back to that. Councillor Coe and Councillor Ma, an apology for this evening. The following leave of absence have been received, which is item 3.3. Councillor Adam Paikin for 22nd of July 2026, inclusive. Councillor Adam Paikin for 27th of October 2026, and Councillor Paikin for the 17th of October 2026. Before we take that to a vote, Councillor Paikin, can I just double check with you, is it just those days or is it subsequent days around those dates?
No, just those days,
All right.
those singular days.
All right, appreciate that, thank you. So with that, let's put that to a vote, that the Council approves the following leave of absence applications for Councillor Paikin for the 22nd of July, the 27th of October and the 17th of November for 2026. I'm happy to move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gobbett. Those in favour? Okay. Those against? Okay, thank you. We have one against, which is Councillor Doshi for the record. Okay, thank you. That has been carried. We'll now move to Lord Mayor's... Sorry, no we won't. We'll get to that one just yet. Can elected members please acknowledge you've had sufficient time to consider the agenda items presented this evening? Thank you. Just a reminder on mobile phones, obviously keep them on silent in case of emergency. Just take the call outside the chamber. In the event of emergency, please pay attention to the direction of the City of Perth staff. Item 4 is announcements by the Lord Mayor, so I'll quickly find that. There we go. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. This past week has been one of those weeks that reminds us why serving as elected members and personally as your Lord Mayor is such a privilege. We had the opportunity to launch Shaping Perth City Centre towards 2036 and beyond, and with that welcomed more than 100 stakeholders from across our community, and the room was filled with planners, architects, urban designers, business leaders, academics, government representatives, artists and community leaders all coming together to discuss one simple but incredibly important question. What do we want Perth to become? So for me, the real success of the evening wasn't simply the release of another report, it was seeing so many people, each bringing different perspective and expertise, united by a shared belief that Perth's best days are ahead. As I said on the night, great cities do not happen by accident. The Perth we enjoy today is the result of decisions made decades ago by people who believed in this city and had the courage to think beyond the next budget or the next election cycle. Today we enjoy places like Elizabeth Quay, Perth City Link, the Cathedral, ECU Square, because previous generations had the vision to think long term. And now that is our turn. The GEL study isn't a construction schedule of list of projects that will happen tomorrow. It's a vision, it's an invitation to think boldly about the kind of capital city we want to leave for our future generations. And that city will be a greener city, a better connected city, and a city where people choose to live, work and study and spend time. A city that continues to attract investment, talent and opportunity while remaining unmistakably Perth. So I'd sincerely like to thank everyone who attended the launch, particularly our partners at GEL, for helping us imagine what Perth could become over the next decade and beyond, and especially our team, our planners. I know Maria put so much work in and her team, and I know Amanda, and more broadly, there's been so many people within this organisation who have done so much work, so I thank them wholeheartedly. Speaking to representing, that's it. So that's the end of that part. So speaking of representing Perth, I want to acknowledge some outstanding advocacy that recently took part on behalf of Western Australia at the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly in Canberra. Our Deputy Lord Mayor, David Gonsalves, represented the city with distinction. Following a request from the Shire of Gingin, David invested a significant amount of his own time understanding the challenges facing the current Lancelin coastline, in collaboration with councils across the whole of Australia. He successfully moved an amendment that received unanimous support from all 539 local governments represented at the Assembly. Since returning from Canberra, we've received letters of thanks from both the Shire of Gingin Councillor and the Lancelin Chamber of Commerce, as well as in the Lancelin, what would you call it, community, lots of posts in support for recognising David's leadership and the City of Perth's willingness to stand alongside regional Western Australia. So that's something to be proud of. It reminds us, and this is where the advocacy piece comes in, it reminds us that local government is at best when councils work together. We're a capital city, so we carry a little bit more weight in that space. Sometimes leadership isn't just about looking after your own backyard. It gives you a chance, an opportunity to lend your voice to communities that need support. So congratulations, David. Thank you for representing Perth on everything else that the report will no doubt hold. But certainly I just wanted to, because of the information that has been given to me from those in the Shire of Gingin and Lancelin, I just wanted to recognise you professionally. So thank you very much. And finally, I'd like to address some reporting this week regarding the city's proposed relationship with Denpasar. Unfortunately, there has been much of the reporting omitting some important context. So if you give me a moment, I will add in some context. The figure that has been quoted relates to a budget allocation made several years ago. It's not about money that has been spent, and in fact, no money has been spent to date. Since that allocation was made at the time, the city developed and adopted a new international engagement strategy, introducing a clear framework for assessing our international partnerships. As part of the work, the exploration of the relationship with Denpasar that was due for renewal was paused while that framework was developed. So there is currently no approved travel, no confirmed trip planned for December, and any future expenditure still needs to come past and be processed through the city's normal governance and approval processes. So budgeting for a project does not mean the money will be automatically spent. It simply means, like with a lot of projects that we have on an ongoing nature throughout our financials, an allocation that at some stage has been put in as an allocation. If we do have to take that allocation any further, it comes before council to be a decision of council. So every dollar remains subject to proper governance, proper approvals, and responsible decision makings. And that's exactly how it should be. More broadly, I welcome robust public debates. Healthy scrutiny is an important part of democracy, and advocacy has an important role to play in shaping public policy. But advocacy also carries a responsibility to be factual, and reporting carries a responsibility to ensure the full context is understood. Before criticism becomes tomorrow's headline, I would encourage everyone, whether they're elected members, political advocates, or members of the media, to take the time to check the facts. The city is available at all times to be able to check those facts so the context and the information can be reported in an accurate manner. Our community deserves informed debate based on evidence, not assumptions or incomplete information, and that's how trust in local government is built and maintained. So whether we're planning the next 30 years of Perth, advocating for communities across the whole of Western Australia, or supporting local businesses, or carefully managing ratepayers' funds, our focus will always remain exactly the same: to build a capital city for future generations that they will be proud to inherit. Thank you. Okay. You okay? Alrighty, I'm going to get sick, I can feel it. Let's move on to disclosures of interest. Item 5 on the agenda is disclosures of interest. CEO, can you please detail the interests which have been disclosed?
Yes, Lord Mayor, the following interests have been disclosed. Item 11.2, final adoption of amendment number 54 to the City Planning Scheme. Councillor Liam Godbert has disclosed an impartiality interest as he resides at a property within the P13 Adelaide precinct. This represents an impartiality interest only. Item 20.1, acting CEO arrangements. I have disclosed a direct financial interest as it is reasonably foreseeable that I would have a financial interest in this item. Councillor Raj Doshi has disclosed a direct financial interest. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed a direct financial interest. With item 20.2, legal representation. Just keeps cutting out, sorry about that. Lord Mayor Bruce Reynolds has disclosed a direct financial interest as it is reasonably foreseeable that he would have a financial interest in this item. Councillor Leeser has disclosed a direct financial interest as she has been given differing advice regarding disclosures. It seems prudent to adhere to the most conservative of these and disclose the same interest as Bruce Reynolds. And Councillor Raj Doshi has disclosed a direct financial interest.
Okay, thank you, Acting CEO. Councillor Paikin, I believe you might have a disclosure from the floor.
I do, Lord Mayor. Yes, it's very similar to Councillor Gobbett's. I've put it into the Teams chat if it's easier to just copy and paste. Otherwise, I would just word it as I own a property within the P13 Adelaide precinct.
All right.
And this is an impartiality interest.
All right, now we'll quickly check the item for that one. Do we know what item that?
11.2.
All right. Thank you very much. That has been noted. And I'd also like to note, I like your new haircut, mate. Well done. Sort of add that in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lord Mayor, I also have.
Yep, that's fine. So if any elected members have any disclosures on the floor, I'll go directly to the DLM first.
Thank you. Just on item 11.1, draft Perth Girls School local planning policy. I have an impartiality interest. In my time as Secretary of the East Perth Community Group, I previously corresponded with Rod Hammersley of ADC Property and engaged with them around their timeline for future development.
All right, any other disclosures from the floor? Okay, we can now move on to item 6, which is public participation. So before we move to public participation, which is officially 6.2, and before we commence, I would like to remind everyone that 15 minutes is allocated for question time, and this time is available for asking questions only and is not for making statements or expressing personal opinions. In addition, no discussion of the questions or answers are to take place. Questions received with more than 24 hours notice will be responded to first, and for those who have submitted your questions in the last 24 hours, your questions will be included in the minutes of this meeting and a response will be provided in the agenda to the next ordinary council meeting. Acting CEO, are there any public questions received with more than 24 hours notice?
Yes, Lord Mayor. 4 members of the public have submitted public questions.
All right, appreciate that. I will now move through to that. So given the number of questions received in advance, each person will be given 4 minutes to ask their questions and receive their responses. I would like to firstly invite Amberlee Henriques to please step forward, state your name and suburb and commence accordingly. See you, Amberlee.
Hello, Amberlee Henriques, West Perth ratepayer. Good evening, Lord Mayor, Acting CEO and councillors. My first question this evening relates to my Fair Rates and Active City motion, which was adopted in Council in March at the Ordinary Council meeting. At that meeting, Council resolved for the CEO to prepare a report investigating long-term vacant properties, which included establishing the scale of the issue and its financial impact on the city, investigating options to reduce or recover those costs through incentives or policy, and if the findings identified sufficient evidence to support legislative reform, initiating advocacy with the state government. As it's now been approximately 3 months since the resolution was adopted, can the Acting CEO please provide an update on the progress of the work? Specifically, what investigations have been completed to date? Has the city quantified any additional costs that are derived from long-term properties? Have any incentives or policy options been identified as yet? And when can Council expect to receive the comprehensive report? And will it be published on the Council agenda? My second question relates to elected member governance. Under the Local Government Act, elected members are required to complete mandatory training within 12 months of being elected. Can the Acting CEO please advise which elected members have completed all the mandatory training to date, the date on which each elected member completed that required training, and which elected members are yet to complete the mandatory training? If easier, I am more than happy to have either or both of the responses to be taken on notice and just included in the council meetings rather than answered in full this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. I'll just pass through to the Acting CEO.
Thank you for the question. And through the Lord Mayor, if I could ask the General Manager, Events and Activation to respond to the first question.
Through you, Lord Mayor. The item of work is ongoing by a multidisciplinary group of city officers based on a detailed project brief approved by the Acting CEO. It is currently scheduled on the agenda for the elected member engagement session for the 4th of August to update the elected members on the progress of this work. That session will cover the items outlined in the resolution from the March 2026 Ordinary Council meeting, as well as a summary of the city's body of work on this topic over recent years. So the work to date includes, but is also not limited to, data collection and analysis on the ground level commercial vacancies, including vacancies longer of 12 months, research to identify the economic and social impacts of longer term vacant commercial properties. We're conducting an impact assessment on city services as well, updating an investigation into the financial or regulatory tools available to the city, and we're obtaining legal advice on the options available under the current legislative framework. So following the EMES, officers will take feedback from the elected members and update that report, which is expected to be presented to Council at the Ordinary Council meeting in either October or November this year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just a sec. With the second question, I'll pop that through to the Acting CEO.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. If I could ask the Alliance Manager Governance to respond.
Through you, Lord Mayor. One newly elected member is yet to complete the WOLGA mandatory training. The deadline for this is the 31st of December 2026.
And who is that elected member who hasn't completed the training?
I don't think it's appropriate to share the elected member. That's still within the deadline, so they haven't not completed it yet. The deadline hasn't passed.
Okay.
And all remaining elected members have completed their mandatory training. Information on all professional development undertaken by elected members is publicly available through the Professional Development Register on the city's website.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks
You're
so
welcome.
much.
And it's great training our friends from Welga, so thank you for the question. Okay, next, David Lee has submitted public questions, however, has advised that he is unable to attend tonight. So David's questions and responses will be provided in the minutes of this meeting.
David Lim.
Oh, sorry, did I say David Lee? Sorry, David, it's because I saw you there earlier. Good-looking fella you are. How are you, mate? Sorry. So David Lim, unfortunately, is not able to be here, but his questions will be answered and provided into the minutes of the meeting. I'd now like to invite Vicky Raniszewski to please step forward, state your name, suburbs, and proceed with your questions, Vicky.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Vicky Raniszewski, East Perth Ratepayer and Community Advocate. I'll fire off the first three questions, if that's okay, for the 4 minutes.
No problem.
Could you please advise the total expenditure incurred by the City of Perth during the 25-26 financial year in relation to complaints, behavioural issues and other governance matters involving elected members, including legal services, the local government monitor, the local government inspector, inspector's office and the psychosocial risk assessment report? Please also advise the equivalent total expenditure for the 24-25 previous financial year, the dollar and percentage increase or decrease between the two financial years, the primary reasons for that change. Question 2, in relation to the proposed allocation of approximately $9,400 for travel to Denpasar, Bali, how was the estimated cost calculated? How many delegates does this estimate provide for? What measurable economic, strategic or community benefits are expected for the city and its ratepayers? How will those outcomes be measured and publicly reported? Question 3, referring to the counts for payment schedule for April contained within today's agenda, could you please advise the specific purpose of the following payments? Department of Justice, Supreme Court, approximately $79,827. Department of Justice, Department of the Attorney General, approximately $15,075. McLeod's Lawyers, $6,407.39 across 3 payments on the 23rd of April 2026. For each payment, please advise the legal proceeding, investigation, statutory matter, governance matter, project or other matter to which the payment relates, whether the payment relates to a current or concluded matter, whether the payment was made in respect of litigation, legal advice, court filing fees, settlement, investigation, prosecution, governance advice or another purpose. If the payment relates to legal proceedings, please identify the proceedings by name or general description and the purpose for which the expenditure was incurred.
Okay, thank you. I'll pop that through to the Acting CEO.
Through you, Lord Mayor, in response to the first question, which we've prepared quite a detailed response, but it is quite long-winded, so we would prefer to take that on notice and provide that to you in full. In response to the question 2, I will put that through to the General Manager, Events and Activation, to provide a response.
Through you, Lord Mayor. In response to Part A of your question, when the 2025-2026 budget was determined, it accounted for approximate costs for 1 elected member and obviously 1 CEO or delegate. That included flexible business class return airfares for 2 to 3 nights, accommodation for those nights, travel insurance, travel visas, transportation and meal allowances. In regards to Part B of your question, it's for 2 delegates. Part C, the benefit of the activity, if it were to occur, would be to undertake due diligence and further explore a business case examining expected benefits from both a social and economic perspective before committing to a city-to-city partnership. And Part D, if travel occurs, the outcomes will be reported to Council in accordance with Council Policy 4.5, National and International Engagement, under which point 10 of the policy says, A summary report with input from delegates on their key learnings and opportunities for the city resulting from any outbound delegation will be made available to the executive leadership team and elected members at an elected member engagement session within 6 weeks upon return of that delegation.
Okay, all right, Vicky. The rest of your questions will appear into the minutes of the meeting. That 4 minutes is now up. And just a quick one, because I'm a big stickler on this, elected member complaints costs. I'm an advocate that if you paid for anything that was dismissed being vexatious, misconceived or politically motivated, I've got a feeling elected member complaints across the whole local government industry would be a lot less, and therefore complaints would be probably considered a bit more carefully before they're put forward, and that's a bugbear of mine. Okay, so now we'll move on to Stuart Chapman. Stuart, can you please step forward and state your name and suburb?
Good evening, Lord Mayor. Stuart Chapman. I have a property in West Perth. I'll ask 2 questions and perhaps the response will be appropriate for both questions. Could the Lord Mayor please explain how it is in the public interest for the City of Perth to repeatedly request that the Western Australian Police attend with the intention of arresting and prosecuting me for holding a handheld political sign without a permit, particularly when I was not obstructing pedestrians or causing any disruption? On each occasion that police attended, no arrest was made and no prosecution followed. On the 1st of April 2026, I wrote to the City requesting that it advise exactly how many times it had requested WAPOL to attend for the purpose of arresting and prosecuting me for holding a handheld political sign without a permit. The City declined to provide a definitive answer, despite my understanding that it has occurred on at least 4 occasions. As the administration was unwilling to provide this information by email, I have now lodged a Freedom of Information request to obtain that information. Given the recognised implied freedom of political communication under the Australian Constitution, could the Lord Mayor also explain how the Council considers this repeated use of police resources to be compatible with that freedom, particularly in circumstances where my political expression was peaceful, involved only a handheld sign and did not obstruct members of the public? As these 2 questions concern the Council's policy and the public interest, could the Lord Mayor please answer them directly rather than referring them to the CEO? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Couple of quick things. I gave you a little bit of leniency there around statements over questions. Just please bear that in mind, just to make sure that we're fair to everyone who comes up and does question time. In regards to an answer from the Lord Mayor, there's a few things there to digest. Ultimately, we're talking about an operational matter, so you're not going to like it when I do hand it over to the acting CEO in a second, but unfortunately, without all the information, I can't have an opinion at this stage. If there is anything that comes out over the next few days that is digestible and some information is given to me that means that I have a position, then I would be in a position potentially to answer, but at this stage, I just don't have an answer for those questions, and it is operational in matter fully, so I'm not even too sure if I'd be in a position to give you one. I know it's not what you want to hear, but as it is an operational matter, I will hand over to the acting CEO.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And if I could ask the General Manager, Community Development to answer, please.
Thank you, and through you, Lord Mayor, thank you, Mr Chapman, for your questions. And as the Lord Mayor's rightly said, this is an operational matter, so the answer will be provided by the administration. I'm aware that information regarding these matters was provided to you directly from the City in writing by the City on the 9th of June and the 13th of April 2026. We note your advice that you've lodged a Freedom of Information request seeking further information, and that will certainly be processed according to the Freedom of Information Act 1992. In relation to your second question and the commitment of police resources, any deployment of police resources is a matter for WA Police and not for the city. Thank you for your questions.
All right, thank you, Stuart. Thank you, and it's always a pleasure to have you in council. And okay, now we'll move on to the next item. Well, actually, before we do that, CEO, have you received any other public questions prior to this meeting?
Yes, Lord Mayor, one question has been received with less than 24 hours notice.
Okay, thank you for that. So just a reminder that those questions will be included, that question, and will be included in the minutes of the meeting, and a response will be provided in the agenda at the next ordinary council meeting. In accordance with the Local Government Administration Regulations of 1996, as the person presiding at this meeting, I can confirm that members of the public have been given equal and fair opportunity to ask questions as provided for in our standing orders local law. In addition, information is available on the City of Perth's website regarding public question time. So on those grounds, I'm satisfied that members of the public have been given ample opportunity to participate in the process. And of course, you're always welcome to contact the administration directly with any questions. We'll now move to item 7, which is the confirmation of minutes. Would anyone like to move the recommendation that confirms the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 26th of May 2026 and the special council meeting held on the 19th of May are true and correct record? Can I have a mover, please?
Before we move it, can I just ask a question, Lord Mayor?
If it's to do with the special council meeting, then we would have to pause and go behind closed doors.
It's just actually asking if those two items could be split individually as opposed to grouped together for the vote.
Yeah, that can do.
Yeah, could we do that, please?
Yep, that's okay. So would you like to move that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so can you read out what you're moving?
If we can please split the minutes from the special council meeting and of the last OCM that we had, so that we're voting independently for those two separate meetings and not together.
Absolutely, I'm prepared to second that. Thank you, Councillor Doshi. And I'll second that. Can we put that to a vote to split those items for those in favour? Okay, that's passed unanimously. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll move to item 7, confirmation of minutes. Item 7, then we'll move it as item 7.1 for the second part of that.
We'll just move it with just the ordinary council. Yep. We'll do it.
Okay. So can I have a mover for the ordinary council meetings held on the 26th of May of 2026, please? Councillor Gobbett, and I'll second that. Let's put that one to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. Okay, and now we'll move to these. That's all. That's been passed, carried unanimously. Now I'll move an item for a special council meeting held on the 19th of May 2026 as a true and correct record. Can I have a seconder on that item, please? Councillor Gobbett. Okay, let's put that one to a vote. Those in favour?
Can I say something, Lord Mayor, before we vote?
We can't. We would have to go behind closed doors, so you'd have to move to go behind closed doors if you'd like to speak on that item. It's confidential. That's all right. Take your time. There's no rush.
Is it a question the administration can answer after the meeting?
Is it a question administration could answer via email or after the meeting? It's been answered. Okay. Okay, let's put that one to the vote. So those in favour? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Councillor Paken, you're in on this one?
I'll be voting against.
Okay, that's fine. So we've got 4-4. So 4-4, and then now those against is 3 against. Okay, so we have quorum, so that has been carried. Thank you. Item 8, which is questions by members which due notice have been given. Items by members which due notice have been given. In accordance with clause 4.7(1) of the Standing Orders Local Law 2009, appropriate notice has been provided by 2 elected members on their intention to ask questions at the ordinary council meeting. We've received 5 questions by Councillor Doshi and 2 questions received by Councillor Leeser. Clause 4.7(5) of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2009 states that no discussion in relation to the questions and answers is to be permitted. And in accordance with clause 4.7 bracket 2 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2009, the responses to these questions have been provided to elected members in writing and will be published into the minutes of the meeting. Okay, are there any other questions?
Sorry, can I ask follow-up questions to the ones that are here on section 8?
Yeah, just a second.
Okay.
Okay, I've just been advised, no, that's why we need to give notice. So you basically, you need to give questions with notice, so there's no follow-up questions unless... Actually, I'll just pass that through to governance to make sure that the wording is correct. Just going to double check the wording. Okay, do you want to just... Yep. Where is it? Okay, so every question and answer is to be submitted as briefly and concisely as possible, and no discussion is to be allowed thereon unless with the consent of the Lord Mayor. So is this on the initial questions or the subsequent questions?
There's nothing to say that they can't ask, they just have discussion.
Oh, I can allow that then. Yeah, that's fine. No, you can follow up, no problem.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. The question I have for administration is, on question 1, it was in relation to legal costs regarding complaints with elected members. I have a figure response of 44,000 here, but I just noticed when we received questions from the public, the figure is different. It's 40,004.17, but then there's also an 80,059.76. So now I'm confused as to what the right number actually is.
Okay, we'll just quickly double check that. It might be a different time span, but we'll just double check.
So what question is she seen the other figures?
We just, in here, we put in to Vicky's. This one here.
Legal costs and other external costs.
So that is, yeah, that looks like it's a different, that's for the full financial year, but I'll just quickly pass that through to the acting CEO to confirm. I think she's got an answer that's confirm that.
Through the Lord Mayor, if you referring to question 1 of Ms. Raniszewski, the question that was put forward was about the total expenditure incurred by the City of Perth during the 25-26 financial year, relating to the complaints, behavioural issues and other governance matters. In your question, it appears it was related to January to now and included external costs as well. So it may have been that it included additional costs as well as legal costs, so therefore a slightly different sum. But we can take that on notice and verify that for you, Councillor Doshi.
Please, and if it's easier for you, administration, I'm happy to go by financial year if that's easier, instead of having 2 different periods of time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, so in accordance with clause 4.7 bracket 2 of the City of Perth Standing Local Order, the response to the questions have been provided for elected members in writing and will be published in the minutes of this meeting. Current item 9 is correspondence. No correspondence has been received. Item 10, petitions. No petitions have been received. Moving to en bloc, before we move into the officer's report, the following items have been identified to be moved en bloc. Has that one been taken off, is it? Okay, so the current items have been identified to be moved en bloc. 14.1, which is the request to advertise the public notice road closure and reserve amendments for Mounts Bay Road, Perth. 14.2 is the request to advertise public notice road closures and reserve amendments for Perth Cultural Centre in Northbridge. 15.1 is the monthly financial statement for April of 2026. 15.2 is the schedule of accounts paid for April 2026. 16.1 is the World Energy Cities Partnership nomination for presidency. Do any elected members wish to extract any of the items I've just listed on block? I will now move a motion for those items to be dealt with en bloc. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Patton. Okay, so let's put that to a vote. Those who are in favour? Okay, that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now as we move to our reports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the confidential items that we have on our agenda to the front of our agenda so we can deal with those straight away. So I'm going to move a procedural motion to bring the confidential items found in 20.1 and 20.2 to be considered as the first items of today. Can I have a seconder, please? Deputy Lord Mayor, thank you. Those in favour? Those against? Yeah, got him. Yeah, so Councillor Doshi and Councillor Lees are against, the rest are in favour. So what we'll do is we'll move that to the front. Moving to item 20, which matters, we'll need to unfortunately now go behind closed doors, ladies and gentlemen, but it'll probably take us about 15 minutes. So if you'd like to hang around, it'll be great to see you back. Okay, we're just coming back from our confidential session for those playing at home, and we're just waiting for those in the gallery who wish to come back into the room to be seated. Okay, thank you guys. Yep, cool. Okay, so I'll just read out the determinations of the two items whilst we're in our confidential section of the meeting. So item 20.1, which is the acting chief executive officer arrangement. So the recommendation that was carried and passed was that Council 1 approves the continuation of Maria Cook, the General Manager of Planning and Sustainability, who is considered to be suitably qualified for the position of the role of acting chief executive officer in accordance with the term of the substantive chief executive officer's contract until the earliest of the following. A, the substantive chief executive officer returns to duty, or B, alternative arrangements are determined by council provided that the duration of Ms Cook's acting role does not exceed 12 months. Item 2 notes that the appointment must not extend beyond the 18th of May 2027, consistent with section 5.39C of the Local Government Act 1995. And 3 endorses the extension of the CEO's performance criteria adopted for the 25-26 financial year as attached to apply to the 26-27 financial year until the new CEO performance criteria is approved by council. And the two amendments, are they up there? Just so I can read those out.
On the screen.
Sorry, we just had those amendments that popped in.
If it helps, Lord Mayor, I can read them out.
Have you got them there in hard copy or?
Not in hard copy.
We'll just give them 1 second just to get the little flicky thing to land on its spot. Won't play game. All right. Deputy Lord Mayor, can you read out those amendments, please? Just so we know that they're encompassed in that decision.
Thanks. The further amendments were 4, request the administration to brief the elected members at an EMES on the ongoing acting chief executive officer arrangements, including the option of appointing an external acting chief executive officer. 5, request the acting chief executive officer arrangements to be reported to and reviewed by the CEO Performance Review Committee every 3 months, with any proposed variation, extension or replacement to be referred to council for decision.
Okay, thank you. And then those 4, we just need to adjust that because that's not correct. So those 4 were the people in the room who were able to vote. It was passed and carried unanimously, but we just need to make sure we get the right names there. So it was carried 5-0. The 5 that were in the room were Councillor Pakin, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Gobbett and Councillor Patton. Okay. And that will all be updated as part of the minutes of the meeting. With item 20.2, where is the wording on that one? So we had a procedural. I removed a procedural motion to move to the next item of business under item 20.1, and no, to the next item of business, as it was foreseeable that we would and had lost quorum. So that would lose quorum if I left, of course. Okay. So that was moved to the next item, and now we move to the next item, which is page 10. If we go back, page 10, which is item 11.1, which is the draft Perth Girls' School local planning policy. Councillor Gonsalves has an impartiality, and can I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Leeser. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Gobbett. Councillor Leeser, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. This beautiful award-winning building holds a truly special place in our local history, and a very personal one for me, as my mum went to the school here back when it was known as Perth Girls High. The building was designed by prominent principal architect of the Public Works Department, A.E. Clare, whose striking E-shaped design was so exceptional it won a prestigious Royal Institute of British Architects bronze medal in 1939. It remains a striking landmark and the most important heritage building in the city yet to be reimagined. I'm very much looking forward to reading the community's input on this policy. No matter how many other times they've already been consulted on the girls' school development, it's vital that the community has its say again. I commend the recommendation to Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Reserve my right, thanks.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak for or against this motion? Beautiful. All right, let's move that to a vote. Those in favour? That has been passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.2 is the final adoption of the amendment number 54 to the City Planning Scheme number 2 additional uses. Councillor Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality. It's not required to leave chamber. Would someone like to move this motion? Councillor Leeser, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Doshi, thank you. Mover, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Our community feedback highlighted a strong desire for vibrant local hospitality options down at that end of East Perth. This proposal directly supports the strategic community plan, the Prosperous Pillar, and it also creates local employment opportunities and commercial services to sustain the growing residential population. I'm very happy to approve this item and commend the recommendation to the Chamber. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Doshi, would you like to speak to the item?
No, thank you.
Okay, would anyone else speak to the item? Let's put that one to a vote. Unless, Mover, would you like to close? Okay, thank you. Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. Bless you. If it's not croaky voices or sneezes or coughs, it's all happening tonight. Item 12 is Community Development Alliance Report. There is nil reports on that one, nor item 13, Infrastructure and Operations Alliance reports. Item 14 is the Commercial Service Alliance report. That has been carried on block. Item 14.2, that one has been carried on block. Item 15.1, monthly financial statements on block. Schedule of accounts paid for 15.2. It's also been carried on block. Item 16.1, World Energy Cities Partnership nomination for presidency for City of Perth. That's been carried on block. Item 17, Chief Executive Officer Alliance reports. There are no reports. Item 18, committee reports. We now move to item 18.1, the statutory review of the City of Perth local laws. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Gobbett, seconder. I'll second that, that's fine. LM. Councillor Gobbett, would you like to speak to that item?
Just briefly, Lord Mayor, to highlight this is an ordinary function of our governance here at the City. When we all commenced in October 2020, we set out to review all of the City's council policies and local laws, and this is very much a continuation of that very normal practice, and I'm pleased to see this come to this point after review from the Policy Committee. Thanks.
Okay, seconder, would you like to speak to that? I was going to say exactly the same thing, so well done, thank you. I was the seconder, I know, that was a joke. Oh no, it wasn't very funny, but I tried. Okay, would anyone else like to speak to the item? Seconder, move, would you like to close? Okay, let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Thank you, that's been carried unanimously. It's a tough crowd, I tell you. Item 18.2, suspension of travel dates during the state of emergency. I'm happy to move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gobbett, thank you.
Have an alternate, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so would you like to foreshadow that? It's already on the table, so we can foreshadow. It's been moved and seconded, so you need to put a foreshadow of a motion. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
I need to foreshadow my alternate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just I want to double check that. Okay, yes, I'm okay with that. I'm going to reserve my right. Seconder, would you like to speak to the item?
I reserve my right, thanks.
Would anyone like to speak for or against the item? Councillor Leeser.
Thank you. I'm speaking against how the item is written, that the Council does not support the suspension of all international travel. And the Premier declared a state of emergency in April, and the state of emergency is not just a label. It means there's actually a crisis. It means our community faces significant disruptions and cost increases. Circumstances are most definitely not business as usual. Yet the Policy Committee has chosen to treat our current situation as exactly that, business as usual. The complete reversal of my original motion, which sought to ban interstate and international travel on the ratepayer's dime, is counterintuitive during a state of emergency. Since October 2025, this council has operated under intense public and ministerial scrutiny. We must protect ratepayers' funds. We must show leadership. Again, I am voting against this motion. Thank you.
Okay, am I allowed to ask questions? Councillor, there's a couple of quick questions. Does the City of Perth have any planned travel between now and when that state of emergency has been called?
I can't answer the question. It's in the documents, Lord Mayor.
Are you aware if we have any travel? I know the answer to the question. We don't have any travel planned, so that's the first part of that. In the second question I'd have for you, Councillor Lisa, if something did come up between now and September that was deemed to be critical for the city to attend, what would be the process for that under your motion?
It's what I had already said. If there was something critical to the city, then there would be written approval at the discretion of the CEO and the Lord Mayor.
Okay, so we don't have any travel planned, and if we do have travel planned, we've got to go through a decision of council. That's correct. It's exactly the same. Okay, I just wanted to double check that. Do anyone else like to speak for or against the motion?
Lord.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Lord Mayor? No, you're okay? Councillor Lisa? Sorry, Councillor Doshi.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. Community has clearly been very, very strong in terms of their views regarding elected member travel, especially here at the City of Perth, given all the other things surrounding us at the moment. In this current climate, the motion as it stands, it still gives opportunity for travel that's deemed critical. So I don't understand why we wouldn't accept that, and that way we're in line with what state and federal are doing and other organisations here in Perth based on what's happening. So yourself and the acting CEO would be able to do that, and it would show our community that we are being diligent and that we are listening to our ratepayers, because at the moment the perception is we're not listening.
Okay, thank you. I might just have a quick question then for administration, because what we have to be careful about when we say things in chamber is when you were saying that community have been very, very vocal, I am the Lord Mayor and I haven't received one email on this now. I'm just going to ask administration, have we received lots of input from the community that they have any concerns around this item through to the CEO?
Through the Lord Mayor, the only responses we've received from the community regarding this item relate to the deputations and the questions that have been received this evening.
So two, thank you. Okay, that's fine. Would anyone else like to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Pat.
Yeah, I think as an aircraft owner and someone who has a business in that industry, I just want to say as well, the aviation fuel has come down to essentially the same price. It did spike, but as per now, there's no fuel surcharge. It's back down to normal, so that it will be passed back on to consumers. So just wanted to say that on the record.
Okay, thank you. Interesting fact. Thank you, Councillor Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Just a few questions for the administration. So we've heard there from Councillor Lisa that that she's advocating for a ban, and we did, of course, discuss this at the Policy Committee for I think around 45 minutes. And so I do realise, you know, that was an open forum, it's a public forum, we discussed it. But the question that I asked there, and I'll ask again today, is the state banning travel, or are they just merely indicating that travel must be essential?
Is that a question for administration? Okay, thank you. Through to the acting CEO.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As stated in the discussion within the paper itself on point 10, the Premier Roger Cook has imposed an international-only travel ban on ministers, senior officers and heads of government trading enterprises, and that interstate travel remains unaffected. The state government ban is in place currently until the 31st of July of this year, and any requests for unavoidable or essential trips require direct approval from the Premier.
Okay.
And
sorry.
the other question was just in terms of about alignment. So we heard there from Councillor Doshi that it's all about alignment with the state and federal government. I just wanted to check that in terms of engagement and engagement strategy, are we on the same page as the state government? Because I, of course, came back from Canberra just recently, and that plane was full of state and federal MPs who are doing their job in engagement. So are we aligned with the engagement strategy of our state and federal counterparts in being able to travel and engage with our counterparts?
Okay, thank you. I'll pop that through to the Acting CEO.
Through the Lord Mayor, I can't really comment on that in terms of providing a response that suggests that we are consistent with our state government counterparts, because I have no awareness of their travel arrangements. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak for or against? Mover, would you like to? No, that's me. I don't look. It's nothing I need to add. I've asked my questions. That gave me clarity I needed. The main question I wanted to know is if we've got any travel pending in this period that has been approved or is on the agenda or on the radar. The answer to that is no. If we did and it came out of the blue and it was important for us to attend, whether or not we have this suspension in place or not, based on the way that this motion was originally written, it still has to come back to council for consideration. And if it was justified, it would be voting accordingly. And if it wasn't justified, it obviously wouldn't get any support. So the most important thing for our community to know is there is no travel in this period of time. Okay, let's put that to a vote. So those in favour? Okay, thank you. Those against? Councillor Doshi, so that has been carried. Thank you. Let's move to item 19. We now move to item 19.1. Notice of motion for Lord Mayor Stakeholders Engagement Register. Councillor Doshi has moved that. I would like to seek a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Lisa. Councillor Doshi, can you please speak to your reasons?
Thank you. This is in relation to Lord Mayor Stakeholder Engagement Register. It was something that came up when I spoke to the monitor when she was here at the city, and she advised that she had actually used a very similar sort of method when she was mayor at Kwinana. So it was a similar thing that she'd done back in the day. And I'd also like to just note for the record that elected members have had this notice of motion for over 6 weeks, and I haven't had any feedback from any elected members in relation to what I've put forward. So what I'm asking for is that the council requests for the Lord Mayor to establish and provide all elected members and the CEO with a stakeholders register recording official meetings, engagements and stakeholder interactions undertaken by the Lord Mayor in his capacity solely as a civic leader and a representative of the city, to direct the register to provide the CEO with information of his calendar in relation to that role, for that to be published on the city's website for transparency and where appropriate, of course, administer in accordance with applicable confidentiality, privacy and governance obligations, require the register to include, where possible, the date of the engagement, who that stakeholder was, if there are any city officers present or involved in that engagement, and a brief summary and an outline, obviously pending confidentiality, of what that conversation looked like. And then the rationale around that is basically the core principles of both local government and the City of Perth Act is that the local government should operate within transparency, accountability and in the best interests of our community. So the Lord Mayor regularly meets with stakeholders in his role on behalf of the city, including community groups, developers, businesses and government representatives. These engagements often involve matters that relate to strategic direction, priorities and interests of the city. However, elected members currently have little to no visibility of these engagements and directions under the city's name. A monthly stakeholder engagement register would improve transparency, communication, coordination and governance by ensuring consistent and equitable information is shared amongst elected members and the administration, where required. It would also assist elected members to better understand stakeholder issues, avoid duplication of engagement, and support informed decision-making. The recommendation is also consistent with the findings of the City of Perth's independent psychosocial risk assessment, which identified concerns regarding communication, information sharing, and the perception amongst some elected members that they did not receive the same level of information as others, contributing to feeling isolated and excluded. Improving structured, consistent reporting of stakeholder engagements would help address these governance concerns by promoting an equitable access to information and strengthening trust and collaboration amongst our council. Lastly, with the inspector's final report into governance here at the City still pending, I believe it's prudent to strengthen our governance and our record-keeping practice now rather than later, regardless of the report's findings or any future changes to this council. Maintaining a transparent and consistent record for stakeholder engagement will provide continuity, institutional knowledge and accountability. None of us can predict what the governance landscape is going to look like here in the next 3 to 6 months, which makes it all the more important that the City has a robust process in place that supports transparency and informed decision-making in relation to the Lord Mayor's activities over this time. And that is my rationale. Thank you.
Okay. Seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. I also had the similar conversation with the monitor, actually. And what I want to say is transparency is not a buzzword. You know, it is the foundation of trust, and it is exactly what this motion delivers. Establishing a stakeholder engagement register, maybe we need a better name, but anyway, whatever the name is a proactive step towards good governance. I was looking at our sector peers, and I note that City of Bayswater and the town of Bassendean already use registers to log councillor interactions on various matters. Ratepayers and the administration deserve visibility into who is meeting with leadership and what interests are shaping our city. The administration supports this. Other councils already do this. I support this, and I urge my fellow councillors to support this as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or would like to speak for or against this item? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thanks. I'll speak against because I want to be very clear from the outset. I support transparency. I support accountability, and I support elected members having the information they need to do their jobs properly. But I can't support this motion because good governance is not just about publishing information. It is about being fair, consistent, proportionate, and importantly, evidence and policy led. The difficulty with this motion is that it creates a bespoke register for one single office. But if the principle is that stakeholder meetings connected to the city should be recorded and published, then that same principle could easily be applied to all elected members. It could also be extended to the CEO, senior administration, and to all in the organisation. They say that what's good for the goose is good for the geese, but there's a reason we have not traditionally gone down that road. Local government works best when people can engage with us in good faith, and when elected members, the CEO and the administration work in collaborative and trusting environments. Not every conversation is a risk. Not every meeting requires suspicion. Sometimes stakeholders come to us early and casually, and the city benefits from those relationships being constructive, being based on engagement, and of course, in good faith. My concern is that this motion may unintentionally send the wrong message, and I don't believe it's healthy for the culture of this council, and it's not a way to build public trust. The administration itself has said that the provisions about what is included and excluded should be formalised through a policy before implementation. I totally agree. I think that that this is the correct pathway, and I welcome Councillor Doshi to properly engage with the public, transparent and accountable Policy, Legislation and Governance Committee and raise these issues within our established governance pathways. If Council wants a stakeholder engagement framework, let's defer it to the Policy, Legislation and Governance Committee. Let's test and discuss the legal, privacy and operational issues, and let's back something that's more cooperative rather than dealing with things on an ad hoc basis.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Papp.
Just a couple of questions. First, have you been consulted, say, by Councillor Doshi when this motion was put forward for your feedback?
In regards to before the motion was
submitted? Yep.
No.
Okay. And the other thing to highlight, I mean, for me, I don't see the value in it considering the amount of administrative time updating registers. The examples that are being given do not compete or compare with a capital city. You know, we can talk about Kwinana. Kwinana doesn't have a Lord Mayor. Yes, they have a mayor, but they would probably have one engagement or public event for, you know, every 20 that the city of Perth would do. And same with Bayswater and Bassendean. For me to support this, I would need more, you know, comparable examples such as other capital cities around the country. But I mean, most important, I think it's, yeah, I would like to hear your feedback on the matter.
Okay, all right. Well, I actually support it in its sentiment around transparency, etc. But what I don't support is the way that it's been written. So I've got a couple of questions, and if that helps form my view, Councillor Doshi, then I may be swayed. But at the moment, the way it's been written, and I'll speak to why I'm against the current motion, the way it's written accordingly. But a couple of questions. So who administers this register? Is it my office? Is it the governance? Is it our media team? Or is it the CEO's office or another team? Who administers it?
I would assume that it would be between the council's office and between the CEO's office.
So the council's office and the CEO's office.
So everybody is aware of like what that week, what that month looks like.
Yep. So let's just say on any given, I don't even know, but I'll be conservative here by saying 20. No, it's not even 20, it's more than 20. But let's just say it was 20 meetings where I'm catching up with people like Consular Generals, dignitaries, members of Parliament, other councillors, members of community, it goes on and on and on. So in that case, I would be expected to write a report effectively saying who initiated the meeting, what did we speak about, what are the outcomes, who was there. So there's going to be a lot of work for an administration person to do that.
No, I don't think it's that level of detail I'm referring to. I think it's more so just a register so that we know who you've spoken to, and a very short summary, even maybe a couple of sentences as to what that conversation looks like. So it also saves duplication. And if there's conversations that you've had that nobody else is privy to, if later down the line you're no longer Lord Mayor, at least those conversations carry on, they don't restart.
Well, okay, fair enough, thank you for that. But in your motion, you say recording official meetings, engagements, stakeholder interactions undertaken by Lord Mayor in his capacity and then published on the city's website along with registers in accordance with available confidentiality. So it isn't, it's a little bit more in line with how I described it. So I'm not saying if it is watered down to something that's manageable, then I'm certainly in favour of it. The way it's written in your motion is a lot of work. So, sorry, I do have the question. So, in regards to stakeholder interaction, so does it include phone calls, emails, civic events, media interviews, community approaches, meetings with ministers, business meetings, and informal discussions?
No, it would be meetings that you have. And this is something that actually was suggested by the monitor in a conversation. So this is why this whole notice of motion actually came up 6 weeks ago.
Just my question is that's okay. I only need the answer to the question.
Right.
I've heard that part before, so thank you. And I'm not cutting you off, it's just I do have a few questions. So why does the motion only apply to the Lord Mayor, not other elected members? And then if you were going to that far, the CEO, general managers, other senior staff undertaking official stakeholder engagements. Now, I would never expect them to do that, but why is it only pointed to me and not to yourself, for instance, in the meetings and things that you attend and have?
I think it probably comes down to the psychosocial report and how certain elected members are not privy to things that are going on. So this provides full transparency that everybody has the same information, the same communication.
But what about in reverse to the meetings that you might be having?
I mean, absolutely. I think that would be a great idea. If that's something that you wanted to amend and bring an alternate motion to the table, then sure.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering why you hadn't considered
I wouldn't mind.
And you're just pointing it towards one person, so that's okay. So, and yes, I wouldn't to the senior execs here. I am not advocating for that at all, so don't worry about that. What is the estimated time and cost of monthly collation, review, confidentiality checks, publication and website maintenance? Have you got any indication on what that would cost?
No, sorry, I don't speak to administration regarding those types of items, but it's certainly something we could look into. I think the bigger picture is that it's supported by the administration, so I appreciate your concerns around
It's
time
a
and
straight
cost.
question. So
it's
do you
supported by admin.
When I ask a question,
Yes.
I've heard your debate already. You've had a chance to debate it. My question is, have we spoken to administration around those costs? Because we do ask those questions all the time, and you do as well.
As per this report, as you can see, no, it has not been asked.
That's all right. Thank you. It's not a problem. It's just if we're making decisions based on something that's binding, these questions need to potentially.
I appreciate that, but I have had this in the loop for 6 weeks and nobody has asked me a question until tonight. So, I mean, it would have been great if you'd reached out.
Councillor
in 6
Doshi, I'm
weeks.
asking the questions, if that's okay. So what determines what's excluded because of privacy, legal privilege, commercial confidence, safety or intergovernment and sensitivities? How do we determine that?
I think that's a question for the administration.
Okay, thank you. Why is council being asked to establish a register before a policy governing its operation has been drafted and considered? I would have thought that a policy attached to it, so all these questions I'm asking now would be considered at the same time.
I think when you hear my next notice of motion, that will make more sense.
Okay, thank you. Has any benchmarking been taken against comparable capital city councils or previous Lord Mayors?
As Councillor Lisa has mentioned, there are other mayors as per the monitor from Kwinana at the time who mentioned it.
Capital city mayors or other Lord Mayors?
No, that would be something administration would need to investigate further.
So no benchmarking. Okay, thank you. Can administration explain how it's concluded there are no financial implications when the register will require ongoing administration and governance oversight? I'm going to take that on notice. Okay, so look, I want to begin by saying one thing clear. I support transparency, especially for elected members having appropriate visibility of stakeholder engagement undertaken on behalf of the City of Perth. However, as drafted, this creates a reporting regime that applies only to the Lord Mayor without a policy framework, without proper scope, without benchmarking, and without a proper assessment of the administrative and financial implications attached to this motion. If the principle for us is transparency, then we should be asking whether the framework should also consider other people like elected members, Deputy Lord Mayor, elected members, etc. Good governance requires consistency, not being selective. The Lord Mayor's role by its nature is highly external. Meetings with residents, businesses, community organisations, investors, government, media and civic stakeholders is not unusual, it's daily. My official diary is already managed through our city systems. My support staff and the media team regularly review upcoming engagements and the CEO has access to that information where required, and city elected members already receive visibility through existing reporting such as the weekly What's On update. I also do not accept that the proposal has no resource implications. A public register is not simply a diary extract, it's something that requires collation, review, confidentiality checks, legal oversight where required, possible redaction, publication and ongoing administration before council commits to this. And I'm up for all that, but we have to consider it before we make decisions on it. Importantly, administration itself has advised that a policy should be developed before implementation. So I do not believe council should vote tonight to establish a register when the policy governing its scope, exclusions and responsibilities and resourcing has not been drafted or considered as part of it. Because if we go ahead and vote on something and then find out that it doesn't work, well, that's not a good outcome for us and the community. If council wishes to pursue a stakeholder engagement register, then let's do it, but do it properly. Let's set up and develop the policy, and Deputy Lord Mayor has just mentioned via the policy committee and through conversation would be a fantastic way to do that. My position is therefore straightforward. I support transparency. I do not support a selective one-person reporting regime without a policy, without proper scope, and without resource assessment. Transparency, yes. Targeted bureaucracy, no. So I am saying to council that we do this, yes, but we do it properly, fairly, and do it the right way. That's where I sit on that one. Would anyone else like to speak for or against it, or move, or would you like to close?
I'm happy to close. So again, just on my closing comments, the notice of motion is supported by the administration, and publicly registering relevant information would strengthen our our governance and transparency, and therefore deliver a positive public and internal benefit. Given the information is already available as per the admin's information, it states the stated benefits will be delivered with reasonable and negligible financial or resource imposts on the city, the register could be easily accommodated on the City of Perth website, and this is all from administration, on the transparency and accountability for elected members and staff registers. So based on that information, I urge my fellow members to take that on board when they're making their consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Doshi, and I always appreciate robust input and debate. Let's put that to the vote. So those in favour of item 19.1, Stakeholder Engagement Register. Okay. Those against? Okay, so that has been lost. We'll move on to item 19.2, which is a notice of motion to dissolve a council policy committee and return of policy matters to full council. Okay, so Councillor Doshi has moved that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Leisure, Councillor Doshi, do you want to speak to your reasons?
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. So obviously this is kind of, it rationalises 19.1, which is done now anyway. And this is in relation to disbanding the Policy, Legislation and Governance Committee and to bring it back to full council. So the reasons: under the Local Government Act and the City of Perth Act, council retains ultimate responsibility. This committee is merely there not for decision-making processes, but to just talk through items as we have other committees. While they have no delegation, the authority to implement recommendations without a council resolution, in practice, the structure creates a risk that positions become effectively settled before matters reach full council, and I'll explain why shortly. This can reduce meaningful participation by all elected members and contributions to perceptions of block voting and predetermined outcomes. Importantly, the committee itself is formally appointed by council and responsible to council, yet its recommendations carry significant procedural and political weight before broader deliberations occur. At the February 26 OCM, the administration expressly warned against this outcome, stating, "The existing process provides oversight and scrutiny by all elected members, and that the proposed committee structure would likely reduce opportunity for transparent deliberation and consultation amongst all elected members." The administration further cautioned the compressed review timeframes. Some cases, this is as little as 72 hours, which we have experienced in this chamber. It reduces the opportunity for full oversight. It limits elected member input. It creates unnecessary administration burden and duplication and risks of delay and statutory non-compliance. And it reduces procedural flexibility. These concerns are now materialising in practice here at the City of Perth. The city's established policy and legislative review framework was designed to be structured, transparent and strategically aligned and legally robust. Moving substantive policy deliberations into a smaller committee environment risk undermining those safeguards, while also increasing administration costs borne by the ratepayer. At this moment in time, the direct costs associated with this committee model, including governance, support, agenda preparation, meeting coordination, minutes being taken, and potential catering, are estimated to be approximately $22,000. The recent psychosocial governance risk considerations with Council have also identified that segmented and exclusionary decision-making structures can contribute to the perception of reduced transparency, diminish collaboration and procedural inequality amongst elected members. Voting patterns observed across recent Council meetings further reinforce those concerns regarding entrenched alignments with blocks with the current structure. A frequently aligned majority grouping includes yourself, Lord Mayor, Councillor Gobbett, Councillor Coe, Councillor Patton, Councillor Marr and Councillor Gonzalez. Returning the policy development
Lord
and
Mayor,
deliberation directly to full council would ensure all elected members
Councillor Doshi, just a second, we've got a point of order, we've just got to hear that out, sorry. Excuse me.
I just want to get advice whether a code of conduct breach has occurred.
Just a second, I will... Yeah, that would have to relate to standing orders for a point of order. if you've got a concern around a code of conduct breach, then you've got different process to deal with that. He's just going to, I think he's just going to just quickly check. So I'll give you a second or two to double check that. Okay, that's fine. All right, Councillor Doshi, sorry about that. Please continue.
Returning policy development and deliberations directly to a full council will ensure all elected members participate equally in policy formulation, strengthen transparency and collective accountability, reduce reliance on predetermined committee positions, and better align policy decision making with council's statutory responsibilities and principles of open local government. It's only Councillor Leeser, myself, and Councillor Paikin who are not in this committee that was selected by the Deputy Lord Mayor when he proposed the policy committee in one of these meetings. If we return to the original, it's inclusive, it's fair, it also saves the ratepayer almost $22,000 as per the report, and more importantly, previously we used to have up to 6 weeks to deliberate and decide and interact with admin on changes to the policy. That's now reduced to up to 72 hours, and I just think for something so important, we should be able to have more time. So I think the old way was the best way, and hence I've put this notice of motion forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I'd like to point out clause 7.42, impugning motive. The member has adversely reflected on the character and actions of another member and imputes a motive to a member.
Okay, thank you. We'll just double check that, and while we're double checking that, give Councillor Doshi a second to decide if she would like to retract a comment.
What did I say?
Okay, so basically, Councillor Doshi, would you like to withdraw your comment in regards to calling out? Well, all right. So, Councillor Doshi, in naming elected members in a way that makes them sound like they're voting on block and not towards common sense and good decision making, you are impugning reputation. Would you? So, in that case, I'm directing you to withdraw your comment. If you don't withdraw your comment, that's entirely up to you.
I would just like to address the fact that this has been sitting with elected members for over 6 weeks and has gone through governance,
Councillor,
and it hasn't been raised before.
Councillor, that's not what we've got a point of order.
I will not retract my statement.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. That's fine. We can move on. Okay. Now, Seconder, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you. I want to pick up on something that Councillor Doshi said about money. So $22,000 a year doesn't sound like a lot necessarily, but it is the equivalent of 12 average rates bills. And I want to point out that in this last financial year, there have been unbudgeted approvals in this chamber for $100,000 for an art motion, $118,000 for the Or Obelisk, $347,000 for the Wacka Race.
Councillor Lisa, how does this relate to the item? Sorry, we've just got to check.
It's talking about money.
We're talking about this item. We're not talking about other items that have already been dealt with by council. I'm sorry.
Yes, but I'm putting the money in context.
I understand that, but you're speaking to this item. I'm just going on advice. So if you can stick to this item, please.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
So I will reiterate that we must be protecting ratepayers' funds. The administration's support of this single committee costs us about $22,000 a year, 12 average rates bills. There's also the factor of double handling. We have seen the policy committee previously recommend changes to council entitlements, then they've reversed them in full council. And we've also seen media attention and comments.
Just a sec,
And
Councillor.
tonight-
Can you just repeat that last line for the record about saying that the council? Can you repeat that line?
what did I say? So the policy committee previously recommended changes to councillor entitlements.
So the committee recommended changes to policy? Is that what you've said? Okay, thank you. Just so I've got that on record. Thank you. Sorry.
And tonight, of course, my own state of emergency travel ban was reversed by the policy committee. So there's a couple of issues about duplication, and the bigger issue is about saving ratepayers' money. So I urge everyone to support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else like to speak for or against the motion or have any questions? Councillor.
Personally, I actually think the policy committee is a good thing. We've got to understand it's still a relatively new committee. We've only had 2 meetings, so there's going to be kinks that need to be ironed out. Even though I'm listed as a member, I haven't attended any meetings. I'm actually only a deputy member. I don't know where microphone's so loud. And I think it's a good thing to have a group of people that are passionate about going over policy. And I understand into some context, yes, there might be a little bit of double handling. However, ironing out policies before they come to council can also save significant time during council. And the other thing that is not really mentioned is anyone can join the policy committee. So if there's an issue around transparency, which I don't attend the meetings, but I encourage elected members to do it. And, you know, if this conversation had come up 12 months in and we said, you know, okay, this is not working, we've had 2 meetings. So, yeah, I can't support getting rid of it this early on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be speaking against, because let's be clear about what this committee is and what it is not. It is not a decision-making body, and I thank Councillor Doshi for admitting that. It is not a substitute for council. It has no delegated authority, and every recommendation comes back to this chamber for final determination. What it is, and what it was designed to be, is a public, structured, and transparent forum for elected members to do the work that the community elected us to do. To shape policy, to test ideas, to review local laws, and to strengthen governance before decisions are made. The argument that this committee reduces transparency does not stand up. A public and an open committee meeting is not a back room. It is a front room. It is literally open to the public. It is open to any elected member,
Okay,
agenda-driven, with
just-
agendas available 10 days prior, not 72 hours as asserted. It's minuted and accountable. It gives residents, ratepayers, the media, and every elected member a clear view of how policy thinking develops, rather than forcing that work through private briefings, informal conversations, or what used to be a single administrative gateway where awareness was clearly not for all. And the argument that it gives some councillors less time is backward. A committee creates an earlier step, not a later surprise. It gives more time for scrutiny, more time for questions, more time for the administration to provide advice, and more time for elected members to properly consider policy and work with the administration when it reaches this council chamber. We have tried the path of removing committees before. Previous councils and administrations have argued for fewer committees and more centralised processes. But the City of Perth is now rebuilding its governance structure. Rebuilding governance does not mean doing less in public. It means doing more of the important work that matches what good processes that I've seen in other capital cities and what delivers to the public. This committee is part of a more mature and more egalitarian model where any elected member can join, where they can seek to participate, where the public can see and review the deliberation, and where the administration remains properly involved as our advisor, and importantly, no one is left out of the loop. Abolishing the committee is not reform, it's a retreat, it's a backward step, and it fails at every step of what good governance looks like in practice and culture. If we're serious about being well governed, then we should keep the one forum that makes policy work more focused and more accountable to all.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak for or against it? I guess the only comments I've got, I'm quite happy to go off the policy committee, so Councillor Doshi or anyone else wants to go on my space, that is fine. The reason I supported the policy committee initially is because quite often we're given a lot of policy to digest, and by having a committee that can work with administration and understand those changes and then report it back to council before a decision is made, to me makes sense. And I think, you know, done correctly and teased out, it does give decision making more time. Echoing Councillor Patton's sentiment, I don't think that this has been excluded at all. Anyone's able to go on, and the more the merrier. Certainly giving an opportunity to chat informally about policy with our administration and with our members who you know, who have put the effort and the time in to understand policy changes or policy opportunity. I just think that's a positive for council, but everyone's got a different opinion, and I respect that as well. Mover, would you like to close?
Sorry, Lord Mayor.
All right, sorry, Councillor Gobbett.
Yeah, and just briefly to speak to some of the benefits of the policy committee. During my time at City of Joondalup, I chaired the policy committee there for a while, and I chaired the policy committee here for a while during its first inception. It functions very well when it is set up appropriately and resourced appropriately, and members attend the meetings, and members read the agendas, and members provide their feedback, and members discuss items in that forum. We would indeed save ourselves quite a lot of time, and at my recollection, and I'm happy to be corrected by governance or the chair of the policy committee, the Deputy Lord Mayor, I believe we discussed matters for about 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere in that region, and members would remember a very lengthy meeting we had in this chamber earlier this year, where we would have, in this forum, been able to save ourselves that time if we were to be considering those items in their entirety in this forum. In my experience, a well-functioning policy committee, when it gets to this point at council, we would just pass the minutes of the committee. That is a very normal practice in and of itself. But yes, it is within the remit of elected members to discuss matters of the policy committee and that were debated in the council chamber. They still retain that right. This is getting down to a level, as the Deputy Lord Mayor quite rightly pointed out, it is a function of us as elected members to discuss, dissect and pull apart policies in a way that we feel, or certainly that I feel, gets us a good outcome for ratepayers. And so that, on a point of governance, I think is a very important point to make, and one which I'm very much supportive of retaining the policy committee. Thank you. The Policy, Legislation and Governance Committee.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gobbett. Councillor Dossi, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. We had the option to do this, as I said in my speech, when we had 6 weeks to review it, usually in January. We have EMESs, we have other meetings that we can do. If the three of us who are not on this committee at the moment join, it's doing exactly that. It's full council, and ratepayers save $22,000 as a result of it. With the way this committee lies at the moment, a 6-3 balance, decisions are clearly already made by the time they get to this chamber. So whether they're debated in this chamber or not is irrelevant. The decision is already been made. And that was the point I was trying to get across. You've got 3 people who are not involved in it. Yes, we can come and be observers, absolutely. But then that's a full council. We had that before, and we're 22 grand better off not doing it that way. I'd like to close on that, thanks.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you. Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour of the dissolution of the Council Policy Committee? Councillor Leeser, Councillor Dossi. Those against? Okay, thank you. That has been lost. We'll move over
Lord
to...
Mayor, before you move on, I just realised I have an interest in this next item.
Okay.
And when I first read it, I thought it was only talking about Tea Tree Lagoon, but it's talking about Clays Brook, which means I have to leave the chamber because I have a proximity interest. So thank you.
Understood. Thank you. No problem. We'll just allow you a moment to leave. And I think, Councillor Leeser, after that, we'll be going straight to a close. So I don't think you need to come back if you don't want to. But if you're looking for the greatest close of all time, well, you're probably not going to get it, so you might as well stay out there. All right, let's move on to item 19.3, Notice of Motion, Urban Waterways, Health and Wildlife Care. Mover is the Deputy Lord Mayor. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gobbett. Deputy Lord Mayor, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you. It's refreshing to come back to community issues. So I move this motion because when our community sees distressed wildlife, they expect their council to care, to listen and to act. So the recent loss of cygnets at the Tea Tree Lagoon was deeply upsetting for many residents, and it prompted real concern, heartfelt questions, and a sincere desire to know what has happened. So since lodging the motion, it's been uplifting to work with the city's administration, and I want to sincerely thank them for that collaboration, particularly the knowledge and the earnest advice of General Manager Alan Mason and his team, who engaged with this matter in a really in-depth way. The evidence that we have so far is that these young cygnets were in extremely poor body condition with weather factors as a likely cause. That's important context, but it should provide some reassurance. But reassurance should work hand in hand with continuous improvement and transparency. So the best way to honour the community's trust is to keep earning it. This motion, therefore, is about good stewardship. Our urban waterways are dynamic living systems, and ongoing monitoring and reporting and continuous improvement are the best way to keep them healthy and well managed. I want to also particularly thank the East Perth Community Group. They've been the custodians of the East Perth local Facebook group, and they continuously aim to have a respectful space where residents can ask questions, share concerns, and receive updates. Community groups like this are invaluable because they keep council grounded. They amplify local voices, and they also remind us that local government begins with listening. This motion also recognises some more serious, broader context because Western Australia, of course, is now responding to the arrival of H5 avian influenza in wild birds. So while the risk to the public may remain low, it's clear, as I myself was briefed at ALGA by the Minister for Environment, Senator Murray Watt, that authorities need to get the message that people should not handle sick or deceased birds. So this strengthens that advice by supporting collaboration with our state and Commonwealth agencies and by improving community awareness through signage that we may put up. Our lakes and wetlands are more than just beautiful places. They are living ecosystems, home to iconic species such as our black swans and places where our community connects with nature every day. When we protect them, we protect something our residents genuinely trust and treasure, and this uplifts our natural environment and makes our Perth community even more special. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Yeah, I've got a soft spot for our avian community. When I was growing up, I had two birds that lived to the age of 17 and 25, and they in a way become part of your family, and very much for the cygnets at East Perth in Tea Tree and Claysbrook Cove, when you step outside and walk around, as the immediate residents do, you see them every day, and they begin to become a part of your local community. It was distressing when I saw the reports on the East Perth East Perth local Facebook page about what had happened to the cygnets, and so I think it is only appropriate that we, as council, support the recommendations 1 through to 6 to acknowledge the work that the city is doing in Alan Mason and his team, and to continue to identify those practical measures to strengthen the avian community in East Perth. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll probably just add to that. This is probably a good indication of what happens when we work together as a team and come to good common sense decision making, depending on which way this vote goes. So again, reiterate the work that the Deputy Lord Mayor has done with the administration, coming to a motion that works. And the cygnets and the swans are certainly something that's very dear to the City of Perth's heart. So well done all for that. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion, Councillor, or against the motion? Councillor Doshi.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. Again, obviously the East Perth local Facebook page is very useful with communicating with our community in that particular area, and they are very vocal with the information that they provide. I also had messages regarding this particular issue, so it is a big deal. And not taking the actual matter aside, I'm actually referring to the process. So having reviewed the notice of motion in great detail and the administration's response, so thank you, Alan, because a lot of people did say that they see you and your team walking around that area early in the morning. So you are present, you are proactive. So thank you for that on behalf of the community. But I have a question regarding the necessity and the relevance of this notice of motion, particularly not the item itself. The administration have consistently advised us in this report that each element of the motion is already being taken through existing operational programs. This is an operational process. Environmental monitoring is already in place. Additional testing has already occurred. Collaboration with state agencies has already taken place, and planned improvements are already incorporated into the into the Claysbrook Cove revitalisation plan. And even the requested report is said to draw on existing governance processes already in place. Given that supporting or not supporting the motion does not appear to change the city's operational approach to this matter. And I really can't understand why this would be brought forward to council as a notice of motion. It would have been more appropriate for the administration, as they have done, to provide us with CIBNs, which they did on the 23rd of the 6th, specifying what they were doing. We also have access to EMESs where we can provide updates for information on projects and it matters that concern our community. We also have CEO briefings which we can use to obtain information from administration. So I really don't understand why this is taking council time talking and debating on matters that are already happening, operational, and is within the CEO's existing responsibilities. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? All right, I'm going to reserve my right on this one, DLM. I don't think we need to close. I think we've spoken enough on this. For me, it deserves now just to go to the vote, and let's close this one out. So all those in favour of this motion? Those against? Okay, so that has been carried. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are just about there. Let me check the run sheet. We've done those before. Item 21, which is urgent business. There is no urgent business. So item 22, there being no further business, I now declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 6:58. Appreciate everyone for sitting in on this meeting. I think we got a lot resolved, and I think our next meeting looks like it should be pretty clear and something to look forward to. On behalf of everyone coming down, thank you all.
Please all rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.